Girl, you could have heard a pin drop in that courtroom. It wasn't just tense, it was suffocating. Like everyone in the room was holding their breath, waiting for the unthinkable to become real. All eyes were locked on the bench as the judge walked in, holding a stack of documents that could single-handedly dismantle a kingdom. And not just any kingdom, we're talking about the empire of none other than Sean Diddy Combs. Diddy came in wearing that same poker face he's worn since this circus began, but baby, today, that mask was cracking. His hands wouldn't stop twitching, his eyes darting around the room. For a man who spent decades making others nervous, he finally looked like the hunted, not the hunter. And then, boom. The judge cleared his throat. This court has reviewed the compiled financial reports submitted by federal investigators, as well as sworn testimony from forensic analysts. He didn't even raise his voice, but you could feel the power in his words. And then it came. The sentence that changed everything. The court hereby approves the emergency motion to freeze all domestic and international financial accounts directly or indirectly controlled by Mr. Sean Combs. Girl, the gasp that erupted across that courtroom was real. People jumped, mouths dropped. Diddy didn't even flinch. He just froze, not a word, not a blink, like his soul had just left the building. His lawyers, statues, not even a whisper. And then the bombshells kept coming. The prosecution was ready to make a show of it. Your Honor, the lead prosecutor said, we request to show a visual breakdown of the accounts affected. Lights dimmed, the screen lit up, and honey, what came next was an expose like no other. Slide after slide. $712 million, 0 cents in luxury real estate from New York to LA to Miami. $86 million, 0 cents in art, some of it unregistered, hidden in a vault in Manhattan. $200 million, 0 cents stashed offshore in the Caribbean. $47 million, 0 cents in crypto funneled through shadow wallets over the last 3 months. Another $168 million, 0 cents sitting in shady trusts and PR fronts. Final slide. Total frozen assets, $1,243,000,000, 0 cents. Yep, you read that right. Billion with a B. And the prosecutor? Oh, she wasn't done. She stepped forward like she was walking down a runway. These weren't just bank accounts, she said. These were silencers. These were hush money channels. These were the veins of an entire ecosystem designed to keep victims quiet and the truth buried. People in the gallery were in tears, not sobbing, but that silent, shaking kind of cry. Victims, families, former employees, watching as the very machine that had hurt them was now being dissected in public. It was poetic, it was devastating, it was overdue. And just when everyone thought the courtroom couldn't get more surreal, 2 federal officers walked in with a black reinforced case. They opened it like they were unveiling a treasure chest, but instead, inside was a digital tablet. The screen, frozen on a login that read, Vault, Ledger, Villa, Eloa, Last Access, 214 IEM, April 5th. Girl, chills. Absolute chills. This, the prosecutor announced, is the master digital ledger from Mr. Combs' personal vault beneath his LA estate. It includes time-stamped entries of luxury withdrawals, cash transfers, and removed documents, often executed just hours before federal raids. And finally, Diddy moved. Barely. A slow head shake, a whisper to his lawyer, but the room had already seen the proof. His billion-dollar armor stripped in front of him. And honey, it didn't stop there. The prosecutor pulled out a sleek black folder. We now present the Treasury trace logs of all transactions between March 2021 and February 2024. You could hear someone in the gallery gasp. Hundreds of payments, vague notes, consulting, reputation alignment. One flag payment, $250,000, 0 cents. 10 hours after an incident at Diddy's East Hampton estate, the victim, gone. No statement, no story, just vanished. This isn't hush money, the prosecutor said. This is a full economy of silence, a blueprint of control. Diddy didn't just write checks, he engineered forgetting. Then came the footage. Surveillance video from January 14th, 2024. Diddy, alone entering a vault, holding a black duffel bag, tapping on a silver cabinet, logging $2,300,000, 0 cents in cash, just 48 hours after he was ordered to disclose assets. Preparation? Please, that was evasion. But hold on, because this is where things got dark. There in the same ledger was a message log, entry number 43. It read, If this ever goes public, bury it under generosity. People forget when they're distracted by a donation. That courtroom shifted because it wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about intent, pre-planned, documented, arrogant. He didn't just pay victims, the prosecutor whispered. He created a whole system to make them disappear, all with a smile, all while the world applauded. Then came the witness, anonymous until today, a man who worked as Diddy's financial assistant for 6 years. Can you explain what silent payouts means? The prosecutor asked. His voice shook. It means someone got paid not to talk. Cash, crypto, property deeds, always papered up to look clean. And did Diddy authorize those payments? Yes, he said. He called them incentives for privacy. Another gasp. The prosecutor pulled up one entry, $3,500,000, 0 cents. Memo. Complete silence for year end. The witness exhaled. That was the biggest one I ever processed. She had recordings, security footage. She was going to go public. What happened to her? She disappeared. Not violently, just gone. No socials, no work history, nothing. Silence again. That heavy, haunting kind of silence that feels like gravity just increased. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, oh baby, it did. The prosecutor pulled up a 2020 internal email. Diddy had written, "If they want to bring me down, they'll have to take everything I own, because that's what protects me." And guess what? They just had. There wasn't a clap, not a cheer, because what had just happened wasn't a victory, it was a funeral. A funeral for the myth of untouchable celebrity power. And Diddy, he sat there in silence, looking less like a mogul and more like a man watching his entire life disintegrate in front of him. But honey, the prosecution wasn't finished. Not even close. The prosecutor walked back into the spotlight with a fresh manila folder clasped tight. "With the court's permission," she said, "we call a previously anonymous witness. Former director of financial operations at Combs' Enterprises 2017 to 2023, a man stepped forward. No one recognized him. He had been invisible until this very moment, quiet but with shoulders heavy from carrying too many secrets. "What was your role?" she asked. "Ledger entries, internal transfers, coordinating silent payouts," he replied. And the bombshells kept rolling. He confirmed everything. Diddy approved each payment personally, called them incentives, bribes dressed as bonuses, contracts signed, then erased. For people paid off, then vanished. Then the prosecutor tapped the tablet again. One massive payout highlighted, December 28, 2022, $3,500,000, 0 cents. The memo? Complete silence for year end. The witness looked down. That was the one. She had footage. And then, poof, gone. And the prosecutor? She didn't flinch. She stepped toward the jury, voice shaking, but not from fear. From fury. Every transfer, every payment, every NDA, it wasn't just about control. It was about engineering silence so surgically that even justice couldn't find a way through. And then, with barely a pause, she held up another document. This is a strategy memo, April 2022, subject line, Phase 4, noise control. Baby, just the title alone made people sit up straight. She read from it. Instruction 3, shift payouts to discretionary funds labeled urban reinvestment. Instruction 7, use foreign art purchases to rotate ownership. Instruction 10, if exposed, call it political targeting. Activate celebrity defense narrative. This wasn't defense, this was warfare. A premeditated plan to dodge, deflect, and spin every truth into a distraction. The courtroom was spinning, reporters scribbling, jurors in disbelief. And then came her, a woman in her 40s, confident but visibly worn down by years of playing a part in something dark. She had been the director of public partnerships for one of Diddy's foundations. She sat down, looked the jury in the eyes, and told the truth. "I approved the donations," she said, "but the money never reached the programs. It went to ghost companies, media consultants, silent settlements." She processed a $2 million 0 cent donation for an education project. Except, spoiler alert, there was no project, no kids, no schools, just paperwork and silence. "And who told you to process it?" "Mr. Combs," she said without a blink. And then she said the line that made half the room gasp. "He told me, if you say it's for healing, no one will ask why it costs 6 figures. Oh my God. People were shaken. Victims looked stunned. Even Diddy's own lawyers looked like they wanted to melt into the floor. But there was more. Of course, there was more. Next up, the Faith Harmony Collective, a spiritual wellness initiative, meditation retreats, yoga, Zen vibes. Except behind the crystal candles and peaceful slogans, more deposits, more transactions, 5 massive massive transfers sent just days before scandals dropped. And every time, invoices for services that led straight back to his PR agency. This wasn't wellness, the prosecutor snapped. This was choreography. Then came the grand finale, the vault. The infamous hidden digital vault underneath Diddy's Miami mansion. Encrypted files, secret folders. Access portals labeled things like sanctuary mode, echo layer, reset accounts. This wasn't just a storage system, the prosecutor said. It was a reset system designed to erase digital trails, rotate ownership, and wash dirty money with charity ribbons. And just when we thought we'd seen it all, boom. Another witness, a former IRS analyst. He wore a clean suit, spoke like a human calculator, and what he revealed? Devastating. The money didn't vanish, he said. It was repurposed. Laundered, hidden behind charitable fronts and foreign assets so deep we spent years trying to untangle them. He held up one folder, just one. This shows $97 million, 0 cents, routed through shell companies flagged for silent settlement activity. In plain English, it was a money maze designed to bury the truth. Then came the final cherry on top, the hard drive, labeled simply Asset Run Log, priority read 1. When they plugged it in, the screen lit up with line after line of coded financial entries. $2,100,000, 0 cents. C branded as marketing, $980,000, 0 cents. Sent to a DJ booking agency in the Cayman Islands. $2,400,000, 0 cents. Moved under a crypto address labeled Satellite Witness Protocol. That last one made the room freeze. Witness protocol, the judge asked, eyebrows raised. Yes, said the prosecutor. It's a code name for hush payments to people with direct knowledge of private events. She pointed to the final slide. 11 individuals, 8 of them vanished from public record. All received sudden financial gifts. The silence? Absolute. But the final twist, the one that sealed this as a story for the ages, a pre-written press release. Discovered in a folder labeled PR Alert Simulation. It read, while the allegations are unfortunate, Mr. Combs remains focused on healing and service to the community. And girl, that thing was written before the trial even started. The prosecutor snapped. This wasn't damage control, this was a script. She looked at Diddy, then at the jury. He assumed money would always buy him silence, but not this time. And with that, she sat down. The room was still, like everyone had aged a year just watching the truth unravel. When the judge returned, the air shifted again. He looked down, then up. In response to overwhelming evidence, this court hereby seizes all assets under Mr. Combs' control, totaling $1,243,000,000, 0 cents. The gasp that followed, deafening. The judge continued, all nonprofit operations tied to this laundering activity will be dissolved and investigated. Diddy didn't argue, didn't flinch. He just sat there, broken, hollow. And when the final words came, they landed like a hammer. You may have built a legacy on music and fame, but it was dismantled by silence and greed. This court finds that your empire was not just criminal, it was engineered deception. As the gavel came down, a whistleblower wiped away tears, a mother hugged her daughter, and the truth finally breathed again. Diddy was escorted out, not like a king, but like a man who had finally been caught in his own illusion. No more gloss, no more smoke, just one final chilling realization. He didn't lose everything. He never owned it. He never owned it. He